Welcome to the Video Gamer UK podcast once again. Podcast. Fucked it up right out the gate.
Exactly.
But we're not going back because this is unedited.
Raw in your face.
To Raw
live.
TV, etc. I'm joined today by Simon Miller, who you just heard, Brett Phipps, Guides editor, and Steve Burns.
Yeah, I'm here now. I'm
Bellend.
back. I'm not behind. I'm not premium content
You're not
anymore.
behind the paywall anymore. Like, we didn't plan it that way. It's just how it worked out.
I go behind the paywall.
We're just busy people, yeah.
It's just how everyone, sometimes Burns has only got time to do like half an hour or whatever.
Exactly. Let's talk about some fucking games.
But 2 weeks in a row, it looked like that we were walling off Steve Burns.
I'll wall off anyone if we have to. Anyone gets out of line. Where are they? They've been walled off by paywall. Thinking about what they've done.
It's like detention. It's like solitary confinement. Exactly. Right, got lots of stuff to talk about. Brett, first of all, Battlefield Hardline. You've reviewed it, haven't you?
Yeah, I have. Yeah,
I haven't read your review. But carry on.
You haven't given it a score yet, are you? Because you're going to wait till it's out in the wild properly in case the servers are balked like Battlefield 4.
Yeah, because Battlefield doesn't have a good history of launch. So
or then after it comes out and never gets fixed.
Yeah. I mean, it's not Halo level of fucked normally.
Is it still fucked Halo?
Apparently, it's just been fixed, and they're sort of like, yeah, wait, don't worry about
March,
it.
isn't it?
Yeah,
March. That's 5 months.
Ridiculous.
Start a war in 5 months.
What, with Halo?
Well, whatever you want.
But yeah, it's so frustrating that it's not as good as it could and should have been, especially with, like I was talking this morning about the start that the game makes. It sets itself up for a game that could have been something where it puts a lot of emphasis on how you play it and the decisions that you make.
Yeah.
And then about a third of the way through, it just says, no, we're not going to put any weight or gravitas to what we're doing, and we're just going to completely fuck it and throw it all out the window, and then just, not care about any weight to this story. It's going to be stupid.
It does have a really promising start. Like I've only played the first couple of chapters. I had a go of it last night because I knew we'd be talking about it today. And I know people don't play Battlefield for the campaign, but it's probably on paper like the most interesting sounding Battlefield campaign there's ever been.
I think you just hit the nail on the head there. This should have been the Battlefield that you play it for the campaign. This should be the one that span it back round, but they didn't. Fucked it.
Yeah, exactly. But it could have been so good because they've done it like they've done it to feel like a television police procedural, right? And they've done it like, obviously they've got like shades of The Wire in there. They've got shades of The Shield in there, and you do things like that aren't shooting, which I like about it. I mean, which is a silly thing to say about a shooter, but it gives you points for arresting people.
You feel bad when you shoot.
Them.
You feel bad because you're a cop.
When
shouldn't
you're forced
be
into a situation where you have to kill a criminal, you do feel like, oh shit, well I've failed there. I failed my duty as a police officer or whatever.
And I'm not expecting the game to make me fill out the fucking paperwork when I shoot someone. You know what I mean? I didn't want it to go that deep.
You say that. I'm being serious now, but it can work. Papers, Please did
exactly. Papers, Please.
I would have appreciated a little bit of, let's sit down. Can we make a not cop simulator? I don't mean like that, but I think, like you say, I agree with Jim. I like the fact, I haven't played it from what I've seen. I like the fact there's a slow bits to it. There's some bits where you get just to think and kind of look at what you've done. And I think they could have worked that in and made you feel like a police.
I love the idea. Imagine they did a shooter where for everyone in it you kill, you have to spend an hour filling out a form.
Yeah.
I take it work. Before Papers, Please, I would have said that's madness, but I think Papers, Please proves that with the right idea and the right engagement that you could make it work.
There's no innovation without madness, is there?
Well, exactly, that's true.
I said to Burns before we came in here that I feel like because of the whole development and what it came to be, I feel like Hardline is hampered by being a Battlefield game, and the Battlefield parts of it are hampered by being a cops game, by being Hardline, and the two systems work really poorly in that regard.
I think it's trying to serve two masters.
Exactly,
it's just not working at all. But it does things I really like. The stuff where you've got that ridiculous like scanner thing. Yeah, that's obviously
detective mode.
This is meant This is meant to be set in like contemporary USA, but then they've got this fucking this AR scanning evidence collecting device that's clearly from like 2075.
Yeah.
And,
And also,
Imagine there was a time travel plot halfway through. That's Dave. It's
I'll
come
play
back.
it. I'll play it.
but pistols haven't felt this good in a game in a very long time.
That's a marketing line right there.
They actually haven't put a lot of emphasis on, pistols are the gun that you switch to when you run out of ammo on your main gun. But in this game, because like GoldenEye did that really well, your main gun was
Original
your
Halo.
Yeah, and your
Resident
water.
Evil 5. Good
Really?
pistols, yeah.
Oh,
good
of course,
Magnum,
yeah. But this game, because you don't. Why would you have an assault rifle? Really,
exactly.
that's
because it is at least at the start.
Exactly.
Saying, right, you're a police officer.
Yeah.
You're not a soldier. You're not.
Yeah. And then
walking around
you have the, like you say, when you pull out your gun, you think,
Yeah.
oh, I don't want to. But when you use it, it's got a good weight to it. The sounds, as always with a Battlefield game, is superb. But then you start working through the progression system, the expert level, and you start unlocking assault rifles, SMGs, and shotguns. Like, why the fuck am I unlocking
Do they
these?
tie that into the story? Do they explain
No.
why all of a sudden it
No.
literally just goes, you just got it
become
now?
Rambo the cop
I
all
love
of a
that.
sudden.
I'm all right with it.
Last night, because of the points I'd earned from not shooting people, I unlocked a fucking shotgun.
That is weird.
Yeah,
It's like-
exactly.
That is a bizarre system.
Yeah,
like,
and
what?
I also unlocked health and ammo packs to give to my partners who
Yeah.
can't run out of either because they're
Yeah.
AI. So they're not going to die. It's not like a
Yeah.
co-op system where if they die, the mission fails. They just don't die at all.
Yeah.
So I was like, why am I equipping these? Why can't I have something else like flashbangs? You know, you don't get any grenades in the game. But if I had a flashbang, which is a non-lethal thing, or a stun grenade,
Yeah.
then it'd work. It makes sense. But I'm getting ammo packs, and it just doesn't work.
Yeah. Yeah, there's just a lot in it that in some ways it feels like it's only half thought out, like it's really half baked,
Yeah.
which is a shame because there's like it's got a lot of potential. A lot of the ideas in it feel like if they had, I don't know, if they had more like, if they were better designed, if they had more thought put into them, they would work extremely well.
Yeah.
It could have been a really good police procedural
could have.
game.
But the
Yeah.
game can't work though, can it? You can't believe they actually thought that it could. You can't have a game. You can't have a Battlefield game
Yeah.
in an urban environment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Essentially.
But I think that
The
you've hit the
two
nail on the
different
head.
things.
Like I'd put all of my money, which granted isn't a lot, but I put all my money on the fact that at one point this was just hardline. And then
Yeah.
we cannot release. We have to give it a marketing edge, and Battlefield does well. So I can imagine. Then it was like, well,
Yeah.
but then it's like then you have to come from it the other way. Well, we can't release a Battlefield game without X, Y, and Z, and all of a sudden you end with this mismatch.
Yeah,
of,
exactly.
just
Battlefield needs tanks. It needs big explosions. Yeah, like you said.
Battlefield, and then it's a police game. Even that in
Yeah.
itself is weird.
Battlefield's
It's not called
about
Battle with
taking
State,
land.
is it? Yeah.
Battlefield's about taking land.
Yeah.
About gradually, especially in Rush, moving up.
Yeah.
And taking attrition. The attritional parts of war are represented very well.
Yeah,
in
and that's why
Battlefield.
Conquest is so good as well. That gradual progression up through the bases that you take, and that's why it's so good. Like you feel yourself either losing or winning the battle slowly but surely, and then that early stage when you take like A and B, and then the fight for C becomes a long fight, and then slowly you either take D or lose B, and then that progression works really well in a Battlefield game, and then that doesn't work because of the tools at your disposal that you need. They become ineffective or overpowered in a like you say an urban environment where suddenly you've got cop cars and SUVs and it just doesn't work.
I mean, it's probably going to boil everyone's piss, but the best Battlefield campaign is still the one that I worked on.
What's that? Bad Company 2.
Bad Company.
Bad Company's really good. It's a really good
Exactly.
game. Characterization, personality, doesn't take itself too seriously.
Yeah, that's right, Steve Burns.
Written and composed by Steve Burns.
So, but yeah,
Some people now are going to think you wrote the original.
No, I didn't
Battlefield
write
Bad
it.
Company.
I didn't write it.
You look in the boxing game and it's like Steve Burns' Battlefield Bad Company.
Well, if we're doing that, the best game ever made is what's it called? That PSP soccer game. I don't know. World Tour Soccer? Was that PSP game? I worked on World Tour Soccer 2. I'm in that manual. There you go. I worked in it. I wrote the instruction manual. Literally provided nothing for that game.
You just wrote your name in the manual and you just hit enter and then
pretty
done.
Much, pretty much.
There you go.
Also, Shinobi-Do. There you go. I wrote the instruction manual for that as well. Moving on.
Look at this corruption.
The instruction manual starts with first, let's talk about power. But Battlefield. It's disappointing that it's not better. Basically.
Yeah.
It could, and I'm totally agreeing with you. You got a lot of stick for saying this on a video a couple of days ago, but if it didn't have anything to do with the Battlefield license, and as you say, Miller, it was just hardline, I think it would have been a much better game.
Yeah.
It could have been it could have been the fucking Sherlock Holmes versus Jack the Ripper of contemporary times, but sadly was not to be. But yeah, I'm going to work through the campaign. It did enough for me to be interested.
Yeah.
I like it when it usually dies on its arse, but I like it when a video game tries to be structured like a season of good television, because at least it's not trying to look like a film then.
It's different as well, isn't it? I think you're more interested simply because you think, well, it doesn't feel like anything else I've played. But it does sound like you're going to get, I'll play it as well, mostly for the first 90 minutes, I think. But it does sound like I'm going to get 90 minutes in and it goes, nah, fuck that.
Let's see, I am
Let's just
interested
shoot everybody.
to see which, because there is a very definitive twist in the sense of how the game turns on its head about a third of the way in, and I'm interested to see how people react to that moment, because the plot pretzels itself and just completely goes
everything
all tits
is
up.
like, everything is like textbook modern American TV drama as well. The very first scene is set 3 years after the rest of it. All this
It
kind of
just
shit.
sounds like
Burns like fucking
it sounds like Call of Juarez, The Cartel.
It's not as bad as that. It does. I know what you mean. It's very similar, but it's not as.
I mean,
buggy.
it couldn't be as bad as that.
It's not allowed.
Yeah.
It's also really, really sort of confusing on a technical level, because like it runs at, I wish Dave was here, runs at solid 60.
Most of the time.
Most of the time, but it maintains that pretty well.
The cutscenes don't.
It feels really good. Like it feels really good just to aim and shoot. It's got that sort of, that when they get that kind of, the weight of the weapons right, as you were saying, it's just like that 30-second gameplay loop thing. It just feels good to shoot a gun. They've got that nailed. But and the look of it though is weird, because like everything is technically really good. There's really good texturing. There's really good it just looks good. Yeah. Except it doesn't, because it's got this really flat lighting that makes everything look like a game from 1999.
Yeah,
I thought that.
exactly. Every now and then, like you say, the lighting looks really good. You'll run across and there'll be a street light that hits a puddle really nice, and that looks good. And then you run across and there'll be a wall that looks like, like when the Unreal Engine doesn't load a level yet, and you're thinking, the textures will pop in a minute, and it doesn't. You think that is actually what the wall looks like. Yeah. And you think, well, why?
I imagine
it
it being on everything under the sun doesn't help either.
That's true.
There's definitely some cross-gen, but I mean, to be fair, like to get it running as smoothly as it does, and to have it being cross-gen, and it must have been quite difficult. So but yeah, it's a game of like it's 50% shit basically. Yeah, it's like every aspect of it is
put that on the box.
Every aspect of it is just it has an even division of things where you can see like the good things they've achieved, and also see exactly where it falls on it.
It's a great way of describing it. And it's not like you can just cut that line in half and say this is the shit bit, this is good bit, because there's nuances that are good, and there's little bits you think, oh, why'd you do that? There's definitely that sense of you can find the points that you enjoy, but then easily see where it's hampered as well.
Totally. I don't want to dislike it as well. It's one of these games where, and I've never given a shit about Battlefield, but
again, I think that's
I really want to like it.
I think that's why why it's failed, because it's got you interested, because it's not doing the usual Battlefield stuff. But then feeling they have to do, I'm repeating myself, but then feeling they have to do the original Battlefield stuff makes you feel alienated again. Which is why it's such a mistake. This is why sometimes, relying on your big franchise to sell copies isn't necessarily a good idea. So all you do is piss people off. Battlefield players would be like, well, it's not really Battlefield. And then, people like yourself, Jimmy, would be like, oh, it's not really what I was hoping it would be.
Just get GTA 5. The heists are incredible. There you go. There's your fucking game. And it's also got GTA 5.
I did feel like actually
GTA 5 heist comes with GTA 5.
Free GTA 5 and GTA Online heist.
Pretty much.
In the first, like one of the first levels of Battlefield Hardline, when you're going through the project, the housing estate in Miami, and it's a shithole, and it's like, actually, I thought it was LA for the first. Like you drive around the street.
this when I went to play it. I thought that, and then he said, "That's Miami."
Because it was like, it looked like Olympic Boulevard. It looked like where our hotel was last year, and I was like, "Fuck, I recognize this." And then, oh no, it's Miami, right? It's like as if basically any sun-drenched city on that continent just looks the same. It's all a shithole. But it was really eerie. Like the McDonald's and the 7-Eleven were in the same places and everything. It was fucking bizarre.
They fucked it.
They fucked Miami.
Yeah, they fucked
To the point where I did start wondering, was this originally meant to be LA, but they set it in Miami like halfway through development, and they were just fucking change some of the streets around.
Yeah, well,
just call it Miami in the dialogue. Nobody outside of Orange County is going to notice. But yeah, what a pity.
Oh, Jim was really sad. That's why it broke a little bit in his face. He wasn't happy.
I see that descending.
Is anyone surprised?
I'm not surprised, but I really hope they'd pull it out of the bag.
But
because we've all had better ideas.
That's a ridiculous statement, Jim. You can't be like, well, this game sounds preposterous, but I really hope it works.
No, but like on paper,
it
sounds really good.
And the problem is we've all had better ideas
really
for
good.
it.
Does it sound really good?
What, a cop game? A cop
I was more
A
interested.
Battlefield game where you play in tiny maps and don't do anything related to Battlefield.
Yeah, exactly.
A Battlefield game where you play, why is it called Battlefield?
I was more interested when I found out it had these moments of reflection, if you want to call it that.
But this was the funny thing. When I was telling it to you and I told you how bad it got, that was when you suddenly went, I want to play it now.
Well, that's a shame because we won't talk about the ending because it's unfair. But how it ends, it's a shame they didn't just go, you know what, let's have fun with this, because that would have been. I would have loved that game. I love that game until the end of time. But
like
unfortunately,
a serious Sam.
You can't have fun with games anymore. That's
I'd
not
rather
allowed.
play Die Hard Vendetta. How about that?
It's a good game. That whole Die Hard trilogy.
Oh, people are always like, Steve, you're really down on games. Like, yeah, but some games when they're announced sound fucking dreadful. This is one of those games. It is one of those where it's like just shoehorn in Battlefield.
If it was pitched to you not as Battlefield Polis, right? But if it was,
I'd play that one.
But if it was pitched to you as EA are doing a big AAA big budget action game,
and that's the name it's going to be as well. EA doing big budget action game AAA.
That is heavily inspired by US cop dramas such as The Shield.
Yeah, with the Frostbite
engine. Does that not sound like...
Yeah, but you forget that I worked for that firm, so I know exactly how they...
pulls out a caveat, but what about this?
Exactly how they fucking compromise themselves at any and all opportunity, mate. Don't worry. I think it does it for me...
but what if I then punched you in the throat?
What if an alien came down and eradicated us all?
If you forget I'm wearing size 11s, I could shove up your ass.
It's almost one of those that a lot of people on gaff, and most of them, deserve shooting, but sometimes they make some good points. And one of them is it feels like it sounded like it started something else, like you said, Miller, but as a mod, rather than anything else. And the two parts of it are not compatible. In my eyes, at least. And from the very start, as soon as I hear Battlefield, but it's now in the urban jungle. I just think, this is Urban Strike. The second sequel to Desert Strike that no fucker wanted to play.
What sums it up is that this is obviously...
Predator 2 game, though, set would be amazing, right? Set in LA.
This is obviously heavily... The single player is supposed to be its USP, really. But then what were they showing last year at E3? The multiplayer. And I think that sums it up. It's this whole thing about... The focusing on the wrong stuff, because I didn't care about Battlefield Hardline. I played it multiplayer. I thought fine. So I said at the time it feels like a mod, but then when I did hear there was more to it, that's when I still wasn't. This sounds bad, but I still didn't think it would be good. I just didn't. I had this gut feeling, but I did start thinking that interests me more, and that's when you start looking at it, going, you can't always shoehorn these things into the same. Well, it's Battlefield, so we've got to market it like this. I'd have much preferred if they had pushed this cop thing. I know we all knew what it was, but not to the degree. Like it must have been E3. When they showed whenever they released, maybe it was the Gamescom thing, they released that long trailer which was part of the single player. Yeah. And again, that was you just running around some lot shooting people in the face. Yeah. It's like, oh, this is bollocks.
And we watched that, didn't we, Miller? And we were just kind of going, excuse me?
Exactly. It was just like, it was so off. It was just so wrong. Yeah. It just sounds like they didn't know... Even I'm talking way back when the concept, but they didn't know what they could have potentially had. They went with all the wrong kind of stuff to the point it was just weird.
But it does feel like that thing again. Imagine being the writer who said, he wanted that or she wanted that serious cop game, and then suddenly the marketers come in and say, "Oh no, but what if you did this and you made it shooty bang bang?" And then they just go, I didn't want that.
Yeah, exactly.
All the money hands get in on it.
This gritty...
Trust me, the money hands were there to begin with. It's the other way around.
The money hands are in the office. Visceral in today, I think. You got that bullet point list? Yeah, I got it. Don't worry.
So we want to do a gritty sort of realistic cop drama like what they've got on the telly, except we also still want to have the fucking evil mountain island bases.
And an alligator.
And we need a tank. We need get a tank in the streets.
It is weird. Also, someone has to to have a nuke. I don't know.
Of course. I thought I was going to hate Hardline, like genuinely have it, but I don't hate it. I think I'm more disappointed in it.
Yeah,
that is weird.
I've found that I've got a soft spot for it.
Yeah.
Like,
It's a pet obsession of video. Like when Hardline was announced, I wrote something saying people were like, oh, it's going to be like Heat. And it's like, yeah, but Heat only works because of what's around that scene.
Yeah.
Otherwise, that scene is a technical.
Two men talking.
Yeah, it's a technical marvel, the shootout, but it's the rest of the 3 hours of the movie which inform that scene and why there's so much pressure associated with it, why it's so tense. And it's like, I want more games which have the other bits. And there's this obsession with heist games that people are like, oh, it's going to be like Heat. It's like, yeah. Well, if you want to play the Heat video game, just buy the original Kane and Lynch, which has the best heist mode. Well, it did until GTA came out.
It was good, actually. The multiplayer, right?
Fragile Alliance, where you can choose to fuck over your people, even right at the death. And I just think it needs to go. What it is people get excited, I think, about the idea. You're in love with the idea of me, but it's unworkable. Like, how is a heist films are about tension, are about a group of people you get to know doing things that they know and probably won't work, but striving for some sort of crazed rainbow that will never happen. And it doesn't happen. In this one, it's like, the cops are coming. I've died. Oh no, I'll just respawn. It doesn't fucking work. Like heists in GTA work because they're multi-part, because you are rewarded for your loyalty towards other players, because someone at the start has to put the money up. You're invested. This, on the other hand, just don't think it was ever going to work.
I think it's a shame. I think, rather than be like, what pile of shit, it's a shame that it couldn't, live up to whatever it originally intended to be. And whether or not the delay had a big, was a big shift in parameters during that, I don't know. But it certainly sounds like it's not. Not
oh well.
Well, we've. I think we've done enough on Battlefield now.
That game.
It's
a shame. Fuck off.
Shed a small tear for the procedural cop drama that it could have been. Burns, you've been playing Hotline Miami 2.
I have.
Yeah, you've already reviewed it. You've already
played it for 52 hours.
You played it for 52 hours.
Did you really play it, or did you leave it on for a bit and the clock rang up? You actually sit down.
You left my fucking computer on in the office on overnight running Hotline Miami 2.
Oh, so that's where the 40 hours
because apparently he wants to burn Croydon down.
Just to clarify, it's not like I left going, I hit shut down, and the game, and I had a few problems with it, where the game itself, the process still runs after you quit the game. And so Steam was like, "Wah, we can't." You had the force shutdown screen. So when I
genuinely thought
that's the noise that Steam makes.
I thought you said Sting. So Sting flew in and went, "Look, you're doing this wrong."
Came in on the chopper.
Yeah, they put me in the fucking Scorpion Deathlock or whatever for leaving it on overnight. So
you had to correct him. He couldn't let that lie. You had to make sure you got the name right.
It's a different move.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay.
Jeez, fuck me.
But it was like, make sure.
So Hotline Miami 2 was a very interesting game. It's fascinating. I think it's one of those which is almost like the Matrix Reloaded thing, where they go, now put more. And I loved the feedback from Gaff, obviously. Chris Thurston at PC Gamer reviewed it. He gave it 57, which is quite a bit lower than what I'd given it, but broadly our points were the same. And the amount of abuse he was getting on his own comments and like, bear in mind that the embargo broke before the game was commercially available. And then about 5 hours later, I popped back into Gaff and they were like, oh, actually, some of these things are problems. Like, wow, guys, imagine if you just waited to play the game before you started having people that played it for 52 hours like myself. But it's everything you liked about Hotline Miami. They've gone, no, we're not going to do that anymore. It's crazy. It's I'm all for sequels that go in different directions, but you still have to maintain, I feel, some consistency. And Hotline Miami is so revered because you pick a level, you pick a mask, you go in, you hone your time. There's all the scoring criteria is about moving quickly, about being bold, about being brash. But the levels in Hotline Miami 2, A, you can't choose a mask in a lot of them. B, you're locked into the single character with a lot of his own attributes that you can't change. And C, the levels are too big for you to really... Well, I mean, people are doing it on fucking Gaff. People are, posting their scores, their S rankings and stuff like that. It would always appeal to certain people who, are amazing at the game. However, I just thought too much of that. The levels are too big. There's an entire subplot with a soldier, which is terrible. It's absolutely terrible.
Yeah,
it's like Cannon Fodder 2. And
What, like the bits on Mars and shit?
the alien time travel plot, which would have made just as much sense. But there is stuff to really, really like in it. There are some characters which are really good.
Is it the first or second best game set in Miami released this month?
It is probably the first best game.
Right,
set in
Right, okay.
Miami.
Better than Hardline.
So
'Cause-
it's an interesting game,
Yeah.
fascinating. Like I said, I'd love to speak to the guys because they were saying the Denton guys were like, "This is the one we always wanted to make," this is one where we threw everything into it, which is the precise moment you know they fucked it.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
any film director or game maker that says this is the one. When they've had a massive classic before, will fuck it.
Yeah, if they get
because
creative
no one's
control.
saying no.
Yeah.
It's like the Wachowskis. They made The Matrix. No one really got it apparently at Warner, but then they made Bound, which was really cool and stylish, and they'd written Assassin.
They made Bound before The Matrix, didn't they?
Yeah, they were making Bound as kind of apparently the story goes to appease the executives who are like, why are we giving this money to these fucking guys who don't seem to know a lot about. We can't really decipher their story about fucking AIs and, all that sort of shit.
Because we're fucking idiots.
Yeah, well-
and we're all in our fucking 60s.
Exactly. But then, so that happened and there were a lot of restrictions essentially on the Matrix because it was the studio's project. Then it made fucking $1 trillion and they went, guys, just do whatever you want. It's like, well...
Yeah, you're doing
Yeah.
that creative control
that was the thing, yeah.
gets given to the guys at the top, then there is that sense that you need someone to say, hang on a minute,
There
let's
was-
remember.
Yeah,
Yeah.
There was no leash on Matrix Reloaded. There are like threads of a good film in there. I really like the Matrix trilogy for what it is. After the dust settles and 10 years later, you can watch them and be like, I know they.
I
fucked
think
it,
the second one the third one is unwatchable.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the second one, I watched it on a plane. I used to actually be a bit of an apologist for the second movie because I was, while we were waiting for the third one, because I was like, okay, well, the strands are there, like you say. Oh, my life.
It's one of these things as well where this is in no way an excuse. They are fucking terrible films, but when you watch the Animatrix and you read up on some of the sort of supplemental lore and stuff, there are things about that universe that make more sense. And it's just another thing that should have been a lot better than it was.
Some of the Animatrix installments are fantastic. My favourite of them is World Record. It's absolutely brilliant, and but again, it's almost like the antithesis of those sequels where it's like less is more. Like we get it. We don't need.
It's like glimpses of that universe.
We don't need 1,000 shots of Neo being fucking karate Jesus. Do you know what I mean? It's like we don't need all that.
He is the Jesus in South Park,
that
isn't he?
massive, all those bullet time sequences on the motorway though, with the fucking two trucks crashed.
The
together and
motorway
shit.
scene
Fucking
Yeah.
amazing.
is fantastic.
Yeah.
In fact, if you just watch the motorway scene and just
Yeah.
forget the rest of the film,
Yeah.
it turns into an amazing sort of it feels like a really big budget Channel 4 short, which is good.
Yeah.
I mean, Hollow Miami isn't anywhere near as hubris adult.
Yes,
but I think there is Matrix Reloaded is peak hubris. Not even George went that far.
I was just about to say George Lucas is another example, but maybe.
No, he didn't go. He didn't
Matrix
go that
Reloaded
far.
is
What-
fucking peak Burns.
Exactly.
What I love about George Lucas as well is every time you hear an interview with someone who worked with George, they all sound as exacerbated and tired of the idea of working with him.
Oh, everyone's like, yeah, he's a fucking prick.
That's because no fucker can tell him what to do.
Yeah.
Everyone goes on about George Lucas's vision and shit as well.
Yeah.
You got the vision. He's got no fucking vision.
Just made Buck Rogers with fucking light
Yeah,
swords.
exactly.
Made laser swords. There you go.
It was a fucking update of Flash Gordon with 70s prosthetics. That was
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Well,
It is in Star Wars.
Other people did the best bits.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah, exactly.
I like Star Wars.
Yeah, I like.
But Lucas
I like
is
Star Wars as well.
Oh, okay.
Lucas don't know what the fuck he's doing.
Of course I like Star Wars. I can't not like Star Wars. Imagine not liking Star Wars.
Exactly. So Hollow Miami 2, interesting. Like I said, I'd love to speak to the people that made it, but at the same time,
You make that sound so menacing. You don't,
I like to have a word.
You don't mean that in a threatening way. Let's just
no, I'd like
clarify.
to talk. I'd like to discuss with them how they settled on the design, not as in find them and bring them to me.
the process. the decisions they made that led to Hotline Miami 2 being the way it is. Not Steve Burns wants to fucking get them behind the desk and be like, listen.
Yeah, I've started playing Hotline Miami. I'm not very far in at all, but like you say, the first game did encourage boldness, you to take that chance. But what I found when I've played the opening few levels of the second one is it's very much a case of edge out and retreat, and it's and that's not what I enjoy. I'm like you say, boldness is rewarded with a higher score, whereas in this one, I feel like I cannot take the chance because the levels are so big, and I cannot see
and it's very gun focused as well.
Exactly, and I cannot see what I'm going into, so I have to sort of edge out and bring the enemies to me, whereas I could go into that environment. And it's just, you know,
the great thing about Hotline Miami, I mean, it's not a particular, like, it's not a revelation to come out with it, but like all the encounters, all the levels, even though it is a top-down shooter, it feels more like a puzzle game than a shooter.
Yeah,
and Hotline Miami 2, from what I've seen of it, just looks like the spaces are too open. For that to come across, so then it starts feeling like a bad shooter rather than, you know, a really clever puzzle game that has the shooting skin over it.
Definitely.
If you think that the opening, if you think that Hotline Miami, in a way, is like the opening of Leon, where he takes out all those guys in different ways and he play, you know, in like that apartment, and the second one is just, you know, First Blood 2. It's like Rambo. It's like, yeah. But also, Miller, while I would defend Hotline Miami 2, and I know this will get your goat, is that someone said on Twitter yesterday, they were like, you know what, I think that, I can't remember who it is, so if you listen to this, get fucked. But
endearing.
They were like, you know, I'm thinking that the soundtrack of Hotline Miami 2 is doing like a lot of the work for the game. And instantly my mind flashed back to, you know, this game would be very good if Batman wasn't in it. But Batman is in the game and the soundtrack is in the game.
I never understand it. It's if, like, when it comes to a video game, unless the game, you know, you can only judge the gameplay. You can't, you know, it's like, I'm going to use wrestling terminology, but, you know, Paul Heyman, if you don't know, he's quite a ingenious dude within wrestling, but he said, you know, you play to your strengths and you hide your weaknesses. So if you're a video game designer and you realise, well, the game is okay, but I've got much more creative when it comes to music or, you know, sound design or level design or environments, whatever, you think, well, I'm going to focus on that and I'll make sure the game is passable, but it'll be everything else that sort of makes the experience. There's nothing wrong with that.
No. You imagine people saying that about, like, fucking Guitar Hero.
I was just thinking that, Rock Band.
This game's a bag of shit if I can't press buttons along to fucking Sting.
Rock Band be shit without a soundtrack, wouldn't it?
This film would be terrible without actors and a script. Well, all right. Cheers.
I see what people are saying, but at the same time, it's like you have to. A video game is more than just, you know, holding a controller and then pushing buttons.
That's a hangover, Milan. You know, it's a hangover from the days when people
bleep blop
were, instead of, like, holistically speaking, they would go, okay, what are the graphics like?
Yeah.
Now, what's the sound like?
Exactly.
And it would be broken down rather than
their experiences nowadays.
Can you imagine how fucked we would have been if we were all from the previous generation of games media people who had to review fucking Amiga games? We have to really know your shit. And have to be really good at hard games.
Yeah.
We'd all be fucked.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'd be proud, though.
That's because most of those games were unplayable.
But, most of my favourite games have, you know, sort of climbed up to that level due to it being a good soundtrack or, you know, environments or scale of setting or whatever. You know, the first one that comes to mind is Shadow of the Colossus. Shadow of the Colossus is a great game, but it becomes better because of its soundtrack, which is just unique and compelling and, you know, enthralling and stuff. And it's the same with Valiant Hearts, which I'm playing now as well. The soundtrack makes that game.
It is very good, actually. I didn't much like it, but...
No, I read your review, and I think you make some good points, but I mean, it ties you into the emotional side of it, because what music can do, and it's like, it's a smart mechanic to use.
That's why it's there.
Exactly, exactly.
It won't be a secret to anyone. My favourite games are, certainly of the last, like, 15 years, are Morrowind and Mass Effect trilogy. And when I think about them, what sticks out is the little musical notes, like the music of the galaxy map in Mass Effect. Such a small part of, like, you know, a trilogy that takes you like 200 hours to get through. But that's what I always go back to is that little moment. The incidental music in Morrowind where nothing's happening and you're just walking along a road to the next town. And it's got that really sort of stirring kind of orchestral soundtrack.
Yeah. You feel like something big's about to happen.
Exactly, and like it's a bit of a nonsense to suggest that that's sort of somehow cheating. It's like
But I
that
think-
just means those elements are working.
With a
Yeah,
game
exactly.
like Hotline Miami, I actually think it's even more ingenious because it is a game that you could describe as old school, for lack of a better term, because you are trying to do well and you're trying to, get a score. But if that, if those developers can ensure that that works, and then you also, for those who want the experience side of things, can get that too, then I think it's it's an ingenious move more than anything else.
Hotline Miami 2 and Hotline Miami's soundtrack are the game.
Yeah.
It's not too far to say that without them they would be phenomenally poorer. And so, yeah, oh well.
But Batman's not in it, so fuck it. Fuck
Yeah.
that game.
Hotline Miami would be better if Batman was in it.
That's the truth of all games. That's your life. I'd be a better person if I was Batman. Not.
You wouldn't. Batman's
Batman would be shitter if you were him.
Batman, the fucking billionaire roid-addled fascist.
But Batman's a fucking... Let's not get into this. I love Batman, but he is a fucking wet dream for like American cable news, essentially. That like Batman is what Glenn Beck wants to be.
He will be one day.
Imagine him like crying while like punching criminals. Right, Miller.
Yep, damn right. It's time. You asked me what I'd been playing.
I asked you what you want to talk about in the podcast, Miller. Super Mario Brothers 3.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Well,
I'm in.
Here's the thing.
It's a niche classic, so...
Exactly. Over the last week, I've been playing Valiant Hearts. So I only talk about that. Talked about it last week. Plenty out there about it. So what else have I been playing? Been playing Super Mario Bros. 3 on my NES-themed Game Boy Advance. And the reason I wanted to chat about it is, A, I find it incredible that a game came out in early 90s or whenever it was.
Yeah.
It's still better than most of the stuff I played today. But more importantly, is one of those games, it's kind of what we chatted about last week. And I guess maybe that's why it made a bigger impression on me. It's one of those games where I can play it and enjoy it. I can give it to you and you can enjoy it. I can give it to my girlfriend and she'll enjoy it. Give it to my mum. And as long as I can explain the basics, she'll enjoy it. But it doesn't patronize and it doesn't talk down to anyone. It's not a kid's game and stuff. It's just, going back to what we were just saying, it would work so well because of how good it is to play. But obviously Mario's got everything else going for it as well. And it just made me realize that, what we said last week is true. There aren't these kind of games anymore. They have floated away. And apart from Nintendo, obviously, but that's a hangover from what they've always been doing. And yeah, I was just playing it. I was like, this game it should have aged. Like, it should have aged by now, but it hasn't. It's as fun and as gripping and as challenging as it was, and it does that. All Mario games do it, but I think maybe 3 and World do it the best, where the quickest way to get punished in those games is to get overly confident. Like, I've been playing Mario Go for years. I know how to get through this level. I'm going to run through it, and then it will throw something new. I go, there you go. That's what you get for not being patient. And it's just, I can understand that, and even a 4-year-old can understand that. Like, it doesn't take a genius to say, you did that too fast, slow down, and you'll learn how to play this game.
Yeah.
And it's just, that's the kind of games that I miss more than anything, is experiences like that, because I don't mind. I like them. They're some of my favorite games. But the big blockbuster, AAA experiences they're fun and they're entertaining. But they don't. I'm not going to play even something like Modern Warfare, which I think is one of the best first-person shooters ever. But I doubt I'll be playing that in 20 years and going. I'll probably remember. I remember why this was so important, but I won't be playing and going, it's still relevant right now.
Yeah.
And of course, a big thing of that is technology, because obviously you're confined by the technology you have at the time. And the good thing about retro games is that they have this kind of
Timeless look
and
yeah.
nostalgia. There's a big thing. Whereas if you're pushing frame rates and resolution, that's always going to improve. And eventually you go back, like GoldenEye. You go back to GoldenEye, like, this is fucking unplayable mess.
It's amazing that like games from the 16-bit era have aged so much better than games from the 32-bit era.
Yeah.
'Cause, like the stuff from the PS1 N64,
It's unplayable. It's terrible.
it's shite. It's
But
fucking
Mario
dreck.
64 is still good.
I think with you say about first-person shooters, Miller, the point about Mario, just to go back for a second, is what you're talking about is everything in it is built towards player agency. It's built towards the player being able to pick up the mechanics and then use them in a way in which they either succeed or fail, but to never interrupt them while they're making a mistake.
Exactly.
However, so modern games don't like this whole walking shit that you have to do to load, like whatever.
Yeah.
And also, but you say about shooters, the reason why Doom persists is because its design is exactly the same in a lot of ways as the Mario design.
Yeah.
Here are the rules. the game is meant to be played at a certain speed. Off you go, and work it out.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
It's not. It's stylized. It's it's not meant to be look realistic. Even though at the time, you're like, oh my days, have you seen this?
In contrast to that, we're talking about like sort of older games which have just simple rules that it teaches you without being intrusive and blah blah blah. One thing I didn't mention about Battlefield Hardline earlier was that in those initial in that initial 2 hours, you take 5 steps and it tells you, it pauses the game. It stops everything, throws up a screen going, press this button to do this.
Yeah.
And that keeps happening.
It's horrid.
It's horrid. Even stuff you've already done.
Yeah.
Press.
People will get it. The children get it. Children learn intuitively, of course, because they have no, to quote a Big Lebowski, frame of reference for the lot, and they have to take things and associate them with other stuff. So, but we know how to walk. I want an option at the start of every fucking game to say, have you played a first-person shooter? Yeah, it's Call of Duty controls. Bye.
I love something
and off Assassin's Creed. Have you played Assassin's Creed before? Just once. Yeah, the first 5 hours just get chopped.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I'm back.
When has A
and
not
don't
been
do it. Sorry, I need to jump in because I forget. Don't do it how Metal Gear Solid 2 does it, where it asks you riddles and it goes,
and you miss
2 hours of fucking game.
Yeah.
I have to start again after getting bullied at school.
Yeah.
Anyway, go on.
But
Brett.
it's that thing. The reason why Mario is so good as well is because it lets you play it how you want as well. Like you can speed run that game in 20 minutes if you want to, or if you've got the time, you can go through and play every single level. There's so many different paths you can take and enjoy it at your own leisure.
I do think that, and this is now I've completely evolved now into that guy, but I do think where that's happening the most is indie games and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
It's just, stuff like, although it's probably, I wouldn't even say it is. I mean, Rogue Legacy is tough, but I think give a child, feed a man. No, if you give a child, if you give a child time, I do think it would take them obviously longer just because of, whatever, hand to coordination. But I don't think it's a million miles away from, the good thing about Rogue Legacy is the core, and I don't mean to sound like a hypocrite to what we talked about a minute ago. I don't mean that, but I mean it doesn't have sort of age boundaries. That's the point. The idea is all sunk into the core idea of it.
The mechanics are always complicated, but the visuals are good for anyone to play. Like, as a kid, I played Mega Man. I never got anywhere in Mega Man. Same with Punch-Out. I never got beyond the first championship. But because I put the hours in, I put thousands and thousands of hours over the course of my life into playing these games, I can still go back and play Punch-Out, and now I'm good at it.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
same with Mega
Much,
Man.
yeah.
I play it until I got bored of it. I never played it until because I died. And I think that's why there's tutorials in every game, because they're so scared of people not getting it and putting the pad down and never playing that game again. It's not a case of the mechanics being complicated. They're just scared of people getting bored.
Not understanding.
And that's why the Marios and the Mega Mans are so good, because they have no more than 2 ideas in them.
Yeah.
And they say, here they are. You press this button to do this and this button to do that.
Yeah.
And if you play Mega Man X is the opening level of Mega Man X is probably the best design level of any game, because
Obvious lies.
There you go.
Obvious lies.
you start and you just everything is laid out for you. The gradual implementation of new enemies and new mechanics, it's so perfect in terms of how you want to learn the game. You press buttons and they do something on the screen that's immediate.
Yeah.
And then you come across you come across this boss within about 30 seconds, and it's fucking huge, and you start shooting it, and it falls down and it drops you into this chasm. You think, well, I can't get out. And so you learn, I can jump up walls. You never get told that you can jump up walls, but it gives you it forces you to learn. It doesn't tell you, oh, you can actually do that.
Yeah.
Like Jim says, where the screen comes up.
It
doesn't say press A and right to jump up walls. It just forces you to learn, and it does it so well, and it's brilliant.
Can you imagine if like TV and film started doing that? Like started assuming that the things they were referring to like have to be explained to everyone.
Yeah, like the beginning of every episode,
don't they?
Like they make a reference to the Louisiana Purchase, and then the game the film stops, and it like gives you a web link that you have to read before you can carry on. But it will consult Wikipedia, please, before we carry on. This will be important later.
But the same thing happens in television and film, and exposition is in a lot of films and TV is really fucking bad. It's like
exposition, fucking hell. Back to Battlefield Hardline. One of the first bits in the game is you sitting in a car that you're not even driving for 20 minutes, while your partner fucking explains the events of the last 2 weeks.
Right, that is terrible. That in the same way that having to have a character turn around in a film and essentially tell the audience what they should be thinking is pretty bad.
Yeah.
In games, if I have to sit around listening to that shit, I would be out. I'd be
Assassin's
out
Creed walking.
straight away. I'd be like,
Yeah.
fucking get out my face. Like,
Yeah.
stop treating me like a child. I am a child, essentially. But, you know, I think it was Martin Hollis was saying about GoldenEye. It's like, yeah, you couldn't do the opening level of GoldenEye anymore because there's no tutorial of any. It doesn't tell you how to switch weapons. Doesn't tell you how to use the C stick. Doesn't tell you how to do the C buttons. You pick up a sniper rifle in the first 55 seconds of the game. Doesn't tell you how to fire it. Doesn't tell you how to aim it. Doesn't tell you how to switch between them. Fuck you. Get on with it. You get it.
I do think like some games do need a tutorial. There have been some games where I've been, you did tell me how your bizarre game works. But I do think these kind of fallen by the wayside a little bit.
Smack yourself in the face.
Maybe. That's what happens when you pick up your mic
tutorial
stands.
for that mic stand.
Yeah, exactly. You see, it's what I needed. But that's what I've been playing, and I will be playing. I've started the original Legend of Zelda again, which, my gosh, if you want a game that fucking influenced everything, you play the Legend of Zelda. Push you go wherever you want. You want to go last boss. I don't give a shit. I don't care.
Come and have a go if you think you're hard enough.
Exactly. It's just the old man gives you a sword and goes, fuck out of my cave. And that's it. You go.
Imagine if that was the text. It's a sword. Now fuck off.
Out of my cave.
The thing is, there won't be any more Nintendo games now because they've
segue.
Yeah, because they've signed that deal, haven't they? So now all of their games are going to be on mobile. And now everything's over for Nintendo, except that is not the case whatsoever.
Absolutely.
And everyone's just disregarded everything Iwata said this morning.
Also, the thing is, if someone tells me, Miller, do you want to play Mario on your mobile? Probably. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? At least for 2 minutes. Like, do you know what I mean? I'll buy it and then go, not for me. But I still buy it. I still play it. So it's just smart. Smart move.
Well, Nintendo, I feel that a lot of the deal, because Nintendo have purchased, I think, 10% of the company, and that company has taken 1.6% or something.
1.24, I think.
1.24, I read.
Of Nintendo, and, it's a deal that works for both platforms because that's what Nintendo need as in the future, and they should have done it in the past as an actual platform. We're starting to get, and we have been for a while, into decentralized content and all the stuff that you can play on X, then you can transfer to Y, blah blah. Now Nintendo, obviously, that they've had a lot harder time transitioning out of that because their hardware is bespoke. It's built for purpose to play their games. So that's the natural stumbling block. However, as some people have been saying, and I'm sorry I'm not going to credit you because I've forgotten, but do not get fucked as opposed to the other people. Some people are saying this works great for Nintendo because they get the back end built for them by another firm, and all they have to do is throw some cursory games out to begin with,
and
see how it works. I reckon the NX, and I've been saying this for a couple of years now, is essentially almost like a smartphone device, which then beams everything to your television and can be used with another controller. So it's a handheld that you put in a dock and it goes into your tele.
And who else better to do it? Who else does? The PSP and the PS Vita, they try, and they're good machines, but they never.
But they're not built around that functionality.
No, exactly, and they never reach the level.
The problem with Sony's approach to handhelds is that they try and take a home console and squeeze it into a handheld format. It's like Nintendo design a handheld machine to play games on.
I think that's actually quite smart from Sony as well, because I think trying to compete directly with Nintendo wouldn't work anyway. So I actually think them creating
it's an approach that really suits the Sony way of thinking.
Yes,
but I think the end result is not something that's
not as accessible.
Really good. A really good handheld gaming device. It's just something that's sort of okay at emulating.
It's more of a gadget, isn't it? It's more of a gadget than a thing.
It is a gadget. That's exactly.
Yeah, but I think that it's just smart from Nintendo. It almost shows some humility as well. We know what we're good at, and we know what we're not good at.
Well,
so let's try and.
It's humility from Iwata, because he's been the only one who's been resistant to it as well. All the people below him have been saying, look, we need to adapt now. And he's like, no, we're a games company. We make these games. These are what we're good at. This is what we're going to stick to. And they're all like, come on. And now finally, all right, it's about 5-6 years too late.
But it goes down to even the most basic stuff. Like, if you're trying to connect to the internet on your 3DS, fucking hell, this microphone's driving me nuts. But you
keep trying yourself with it.
And that wasn't that time. That time I just moved a bit.
Iwata's ghost is getting you back.
Exactly. It's fair enough. The 3DS, I think the Wii U does it as well. I can't think on the top of my head, but it would bleep. And the reason it would bleep is just to let you know I mean, we know it's taking a long time, but the bleep is there so that you know it is working. This is just how long we take. Yeah. And if that is your, and if that's where that kind of stuff is, you do need help with it. And I think look, there's no way Nintendo are ever going to sell out their core values now. There's no need. It's proven to be a success. It'll be a success again in the future. Admittedly, they've hit a bit of a dip, you could argue, with the Wii U.
Yeah.
But it's still got some games on it that you wouldn't find anywhere else. And they will find their feet again. They're not going anywhere.
Nintendo.
And this just helps.
Just open the vault and then just take a little bit out and they'll be all right again for the next 10 years. But the thing is, they've also announced, and I don't want to get the terminology wrong, but this sort of subscription service that will work across all their new platforms. I don't know what it's called, but and the problem that Nintendo always has is when they announce things really early like this, the ideas and speculation that people make, like on Gaff, now between us, it becomes so much more than what anything that Nintendo is currently discussing. Like we was talking the other day about what if Nintendo did a Netflix type service of their entire back catalogue. Like Miller has just played Mario 3.
Like Miller, I should be the service.
Yeah. But he's played Mario 3 the other day. Imagine if you was paying £5, £10, £15 a month for the Nintendo back catalogue across all their consoles, Nintendo, SNES, NES, N64 and all that. And then the amount of people that would probably pay for that on their new console across the multi-platforms. And that seems like a really good idea, but it's probably not something that they would consider.
If it's not, I think now that, there was a lot of thinking about the Japanese firms in terms of Zaibatsus and stuff and how they operate and how they were vertically integrated and all that sort of stuff in the 90s. And the Japanese economy tanks and all that sort of shit. Obviously, Nintendo was affected and stuff like that. But I think that if Nintendo had, if we can have that idea, they can have that idea. So either it's unworkable or it's not as profitable.
Yeah.
Or it's against their core values. Now, I'm not sure it's necessarily the last one.
Yeah, it can't be.
Nintendo just strike me for a long time they've been the gaming industry equivalent of black cab drivers. I was speaking to a cabbie last week who was talking about how the reason Uber have fucked the black cabs in London isn't just because they keep undercutting them on price. It's because of the accessibility. It's because people now would much rather press a button and have a cab outside. They don't have to speak to anyone. They don't have to phone anyone. Yeah. Press a button, it's there. I get in it. I go where I want to go.
You don't even have to say a single fucking word, which is great.
It's
I hate people.
amazing. It's amazing. You just get in. You don't even have to say hello to the driver. You just get in the back. It's amazing. Yeah.
But off you go, mate.
But of course, but still, we live in that world where we can press a button and basically get anything we want, which is insane if you think about it.
Yeah.
But we live in that world now. But still, most of the black cabs you see in London don't take cards. You can't. You can only hail them by standing at the street side. You have to have cash in you. Who the fuck carries cash anymore?
No.
Yeah.
You have to carry cash. And that's basically the reason why Uber has managed to make such a dent in the cab business. It's the same with Nintendo. They are the cab drivers.
Yeah.
They are operating on...
It just sounds like some kind of poem.
Sorry.
Nintendo. They are the cab drivers.
They're operating on for so long. They've been operating on principles that were compatible with with the world of 15 years ago.
That classic. The world will change to us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. You can't just keep doing that shit.
Yeah.
This is a really positive step in the right direction that maybe shows that they've realised they need to catch up.
Yeah.
And what if it doesn't work? What has Nintendo lost? Nothing. Someone's built the infrastructure.
1.24% of their shares or whatever.
But it will
They'll
work.
just dilute those shares and be like, you're out anyway.
That's the thing, it will work because they're fixing problems they have. It's a fix for a problem. So even if it doesn't work, the problem still exists. But it will work because it's what they need help with. They've got the help.
And they've announced a new console.
Exactly.
It's not like they've gone, everything's dead.
That would be the most important thing is the direction they take with the new console. Because obviously it will tie into everything they're doing at the minute. So if they come out and say this, because the scary part of that quote was they said with a unique new concept. So it's clear that they want to do something different from the other guys, which they will always do, but it's how they take that forward. If it is, like you say, a unified device that can go portable, it can be docked at home, and it connects to everything, then that's great, and it's still different for them. But if they still try and say, oh, we're doing something different, this time you get 2 gamepads or something like shit like that, then it's like
I don't
fucked.
think they can. I think they've realised, or Nintendo would have realised which way the wind is blowing in terms of hardware.
Well, they were bound to eventually.
It wouldn't surprise me if something they announce soon is very much like Xbox and PlayStation as well. It wouldn't surprise me at all if they go, you know what, let's turn the clocks back the way we look at it and release a straight up video game console that everybody understands, everybody knows. I'm not saying they wouldn't do something else like this sort of all-in-one thing, but they something they do is just, this is our PlayStation, this is our Xbox.
If we can go on to, it's a good jumping on point for questions, actually, because the very first question, this is questions now, by the way. We're starting the questions segment mid-sentence. Right. Okay. Like Shane Rafferty asks, what do you think that, I mean, Bird's already answered this really, but what do you think the Nintendo NX is? Home console, handheld, or something different? Probably a blend of the...
Yeah, I think Burns is right.
But I don't think it's going to be so different from the console as we know it. It's obviously still going to be a box that you play games on, but I think
it could even be the NX bit. Could even be the bit that connects whatever Nintendo's new hardware is to handheld is to their new sort of console. Maybe that's like a peripheral, not peripheral, but a gateway between the two. You just don't know, because the thing is, the 3DS, knowing how Nintendo like to deal with their handhelds, is probably due not just like an upgrade, but like the next step in it. So we had 2
The thing is, they have just done that, so it will be a whole refresh.
That's what I mean. It'd be a whole new thing, and maybe that ties into this. And then maybe if you're going to announce next year, you're probably not releasing for another year. So maybe they feel that the Wii U's had its run, and it's time to do it again. So
it does feel like Zelda will be definitively the last massive.
So they did when Wii. The Wii Skyward Sword was kind of the last game, and then
you got the DS line, and you got their home console line turning into a thing with a second screen. It did feel like that was the start of some kind of convergence plan, but
that'll be the last 3 consoles where Zelda's the last game.
Yeah,
it was
Twilight Princess
GameCube,
as well,
Wii, and then now Wii U.
Widening the question out a bit, Michael Pachter, my old mate Michael Pachter, he's been saying for ages that this is going to be the last generation of consoles. What do we think about that?
How does he mean? What does he mean?
As in, after this console generation, with your Xbox One, your PS4, and whatever Nintendo do next, there will be no more consoles after that. It'll all be like cloud-based services. Is that bollocks?
Yes.
I don't think it's ready yet. I think it might be the last time we keep buying discs at retail because the problem is now where digital is more expensive than retail. I think that's the last console cycle where that will be the case.
That's starting to shift, though, isn't it? They're starting to become more reasonable.
I think that will be more like Steam boxes, and I don't mean Steam boxes the way they are now because they're overpriced and all that shit that goes with them. I mean in the sense of they'll be more like PCs where you buy everything digitally because of the price variation that we get, and then it will be cheaper to buy games in that regard. We'll have massive hard drives, and then they might be upgradable and more modular in that instead of buying a new console, every 18 months, 2 years, we'll get a new component to then upgrade our systems that way, and the cycles will be a lot shorter in that regard. But in terms of no more consoles, I don't think it will be that way, and it won't be cloud-based yet because the infrastructure isn't there across the demographic that buys consoles at the minute.
Consoles is a rather vague term, isn't it?
Yeah.
In terms of
really.
what do you? I mean, they're not necessarily just
I think
consoles
the same
anymore.
People have also been prophesying like the death of anything other than tablet gaming. Which is obviously
But also, people like to buy big things.
Yes,
to, do you know what I mean? Like you could argue that. I don't know what could have died by now. Not the TV because it's different, but you could have. I'm sure somebody at some point where the TV will transform into I don't know.
The music industry.
Well, yeah, exactly. But people like. I like buying a console and having it sat under my
people
TV.
Still buy fucking turntables for Christ's sake.
DJs. But I think that I think the way that we're going to use that word, digest our games will change. But I don't think that the consoles are going to die that soon because people like spending. They like spending a lot of money,
ridiculous amounts of money.
But they do though. They do.
They like
that
showing it. They like showing it off. Yeah.
You get home, and because it's big and because it's like shiny and shit, you think, man, I've just spent a lot of money on this. I'm excited. It's exciting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's something. It's new and exciting. And I don't think that's going anywhere. Within the next 10 years. I think Brett's right. I think disc will finally. The original idea of the Xbox One will come back. Yeah. But I don't think that.
I can't wait until everything in the house is solid state. Because honestly. The idea that a really, really vital component of my PS4 is a fucking thing with a motor and an elastic band and a lens. It's like some shit from fucking Victorian times. It's got some
Microsoft were going
move.
to do it, and then the internet told them, nope.
Yeah.
Shut up,
Well,
Microsoft.
they couldn't have done it when they wanted to because, like as Brett said, we don't have the infrastructure.
Well,
for
that's
us to
true.
get rid
Also,
of it.
they wanted
But
to, though.
I cannot wait for a world where that doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah.
I don't want things to move inside that box.
Yeah.
Just make it silent, solid
Well,
state.
buy a Mega
and-
Drive then.
That's a good point, actually.
There you go. Am I wrong? Nope.
But, fuck the past. Anyway, next question. Luke Russell asks, do you think that as more games are being announced at non-E3 events, E3 is losing its influence on the industry? Has
I think
anything really changed on that front?
No, I mean, E3 is... I mean, Burns were talking about this the other day. E3 is a concept of like the days gone by because the
E3 is
internet
just
came along.
WrestleMania, isn't it? It's-
Don't you ever insult WrestleMania like that again, Jim. I will come over there. But it's true, like back in the day where you didn't have this kind of, information superhighway, that's what E3 was there for. Is that this is the day and it will go out, we'll basically send out one big massive press release at once and all the mags and stuff will pick it up. Whereas now, you can go to E3 without going to E3. I mean, in many ways, it's almost, I'm not shitting on going to E3, but it's staying sort of this side of the pond or whatever and watching E3. All you're doing, you're getting exactly the same stuff. You're probably getting more. It's so easy to miss stuff when you're over there, but you're not running around everywhere.
Yeah.
So I don't think E3 will lose its gravitas because I think some companies, especially Sony and Microsoft, will always use it to announce big games because that's tradition. People like it. People get excited about it. And more importantly, there's so much information and Microsoft and Sony can go, but look who's got the most attention. It's I'm sure to shareholders especially, it looks, it looks really good. But
I mean, E3 will continue because people like fucking prancing around on stage.
I was about to
That's
say,
true, yeah.
E3 isn't really about
It's
announcing
pageantry
big...
now.
I was about to say, it's not
Yeah.
about announcing big games. It's about one company beating the other. And if one company is big enough to say, well, we're stepping back from this because we think it's bollocks the way we do it all at
Nintendo
once.
did that, didn't they?
Yeah,
It's
but I mean, one of the
basically
other two.
It's basically gaming's fucking North Korea parade, isn't it?
But to be fair to E3, it is fun. People do enjoy watching
it
the
is fun.
how do they call them?
Stage shows.
Conferences. They enjoy watching the conferences. They enjoy what's going to come out. They enjoy the big reveal at the end. So they do have a certain,
It is
majesty
fun.
to them.
It was amazing going. I mean, as you all know, like last year was the first time I'd ever been out there for E3. But I did have to laugh often at the absurdity of me and fucking Scammell sitting in a hotel room, a 10-minute walk away from the venue,
Streaming, yeah.
fucking trying to watch a conference on a shitty Wi-Fi connection, knowing full well that there were people back home like who know what's going on and we didn't. So it's like, it's kind of diminishing returns, really.
Yeah. But no, I
Closer
think
you got, the further you were away.
Yeah, exactly.
they won't go anywhere. I don't think they should go anywhere either. I do like them, but I do think that. I mean, Rockstar prove it each time. They don't even turn up at E3. We're Rockstar Games.
Sometimes they do in the secret press room.
Oh, that's true,
With the first year we went, it was 2013. They upstairs next to Sony's press room, there was just people sliding out with lanyards that said GTA 5. And I'm like, fuck these guys. They just go, and the looks on their face were like, don't fucking talk to me. Do not fucking get out of whatever queue. Get the fuck out of my way right now. I don't think it'll go anywhere. I think you need that.
That's what Rockstar employees are like in coffee shops in Edinburgh.
Oh,
you always know when one's around.
Yeah, Burns, I don't know what you just said. But it made me, no, there's more to that. But it made me think. Gaming does need it. You got to have your Super Bowl. You're right. You got to have your WrestleMania. You got to have your big event. Otherwise,
I'm sorry about that, Simon.
No, you're right. You're right. You've got to have your central event that comes around. You just do. Otherwise,
It's just good press.
Right.
Yeah.
What
It has a better
was the
plot than
WCW equivalent of WrestleMania?
Starcade. Yeah, no, it's
Okay,
not.
there we go. That's what E3 is.
Maybe it could be War Games. War Games. What a great concept. 4 rings.
That was fucking.
Or they're the best event ever, and people get mad. Now he's talking about wrestling again. But when TNA had the match, where usually you have a match where you have to throw people over the top rope. So TNA went, all we can do is everyone starts outside the ring, and the goal is to get in the ring. And it's the worst fucking match. People trying to get into the ring. Anyway, I think E3 is important.
What
I think it
happens
should
when they
stay.
got in?
They won.
That's like a big metaphor
But
for the
things-
sperm and egg.
Yeah, stupid things. You need to talk about that. You need to talk about Judy Bagwell on a forklift match, which happened in WCW. And you need to talk about the time RoboCop turned up and helped Sting.
Oh, right.
These are the 3 things you need to talk about
Right.
for wrestling.
Just do that. No matter what, wherever you are, just put that into a search engine or Twitter or Facebook, and it is.
RoboCop turned up to help Sting.
Yeah.
Was it on Capital? What was that called?
I can't remember the
FM.
event.
It's called, I don't know, something like that. But it's just incredible.
Break some stuff, rip some doors off. Cheers, RoboCop.
RoboCop.
See you later. Anyway, that's that. Ipso facto, keep E3 around. Wasn't even the question.
I watched a TNA video on YouTube.
Why?
Recently, mate. No, you're dicking about on YouTube. Where I was actually just watching videos about Sting, actually, and it's this bizarre sort of TNA bit where fucking Hulk Hogan, an elderly Hulk Hogan, is being squared up to by this fucking biker gang, and rips his shirt off to reveal like the fucking the flabby old man Hulk Hogan that nobody wants to see, like scaring nobody.
Yeah.
And then this biker gang were like, whoa, the old man's taking his shirt off. Let's be careful. Lights go off. Lights go off. Sting turns up, starts fucking leathering them all with a baseball bat, and that was it. And everyone went fucking wild for it.
Towards the end, they should have had it where Hulk ripped his vest to reveal just another vest. It's just, just to hide the flap.
It's unbelievable. It's just, it's just old man intimidated by young biker gang.
A lot of people have asked that we talk about wrestling one day, so maybe we'll do that. But for now, we won't.
For now, we're just going to talk about it when it's not appropriate. Right. Alex Vaughan, more of a statement than a question, but he says, Miller's laugh makes me feel like all the troubles of the world have disappeared and I'm floating on a cloud made of love.
Yep.
There we go. It's a lovely compliment.
That's probably the nicest thing anyone's ever said about my laugh. The story I only ever tell about my laugh, and Burns, you would remember it, is when we used to work at a place, we've mentioned this a few times, Imagine Publishing, which was like a big L shape in terms of the office. Mm-hmm. And I was like at the top of the L. So I was at the bottom of the L, and people at the top of the L. And people at the top of the L go, Millie, we can hear your laugh all the way from the other end of the office. Like, well, there's not much. A lot of people think my laugh is fake. I get a lot of tweets saying,
I get that as well.
I get a lot of tweets saying, why do you do that fake laugh? And it's like, I haven't got the time
to create a laugh.
Exactly. It's just my laugh. But thank you very much. Who was that? Who said that?
It was Alex Vaughan.
Well, Alex, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Murray Illman asks, what is the circumference of Miller's dome?
What is this?
It started so well. What a transition that was.
My head is so big that sometimes I try on those hats that say, size fits all, doesn't fit. And it's like, well, what do you do? Yeah, it's pretty big. I've got a pretty big head. But never mind.
And Jason Allen Dewey asks, is Miller... No, I'm kidding. If you could remove anything from gaming, what would you remove and how... And
Assassin's
What would
Creed.
you remove and how would it change the present? I'm going to ignore that, Miller.
Nintendo fans. Nintendo fans would just go.
That means I got to go.
No. I mean hardcore.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Like
Crazy.
I would go-
Those Nintendo fans.
I would go for Sonic fans.
What about Paul Sven though?
It wouldn't really change the industry in any conceivable way.
Two people, Dave and Sven, would pack their bags and walk off.
Exactly.
There you guys.
It's like, sorry 24 people. But
Eugene Acker would be like, so what? Like,
He wouldn't care, would he? What I want to get rid of to make it games for the better? Was that the question?
Well, how would it change?
just what would you remove and how would it change?
What I remove? Well, I'd remove the horrific negativity around games, and it would change for the better. I don't mean people being negative about games, but I mean appreciating someone not liking the game, and just being cool with it. Just being like, okay, they don't like it, that's cool, and just being a bit more diplomatic, being able to engage in debate without it becoming, just taking shots at each other. That's the first thing I get.
some of those shots are hilarious though.
I love video games, obviously, but I often think, stop treating them like they matter. They're so much better when they don't matter.
That's the thing, but you can still get mad and not mad, but still be passionate and you treat a thing. But at the same time, just have that kind of point where you stop and you go, what? It's all good. We don't agree on anything, really, or many games, but I don't care. It's all good. It doesn't matter. So I get rid of that.
Put NeoGaf in the bin.
We do well.
Get that in the bin.
More than just gaff.
Yeah, actually, get rid of
Get the
rid
fuck
of
rid of gaff. It's just a place where people get angry,
Yeah.
and then when they see comments that expands upon their opinion, they get madder, and it bounces off. It's the same two people, and it's all it is. Two people bouncing off their own opinions.
Two
that agree
people
with each
and
other.
their sock puppet accounts.
Basically, bring back some positivity into game. Can't say that.
Yeah.
Bring back some positivity into games.
Absolutely.
There you go.
I'm a great, great believer in the Oscar Wilde idea that the things that make life worth living are the pointless things.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Games, treat them like they're pointless because they are.
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody needs video games.
Exactly.
That's
What you
why
get
they're
mad
brilliant.
about.
That's
Yeah.
why it's amazing.
And that's why you can have an impassioned debate where you lay into each other in a good way,
Yeah.
and then go on we go, move on because it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You can do
Exactly,
it's the best thing you can.
exactly.
I can tell Brett he's a fucking moron for not liking Battlefield. And, oh, you're a dickhead, Miller. And then we do fine. Next, let's go. Get a sandwich or something.
Every
like
morning I walk into the office, I flip you the bird.
Yeah, that is true.
Well,
Actually, yeah. That's nothing to do with games. That's because you're a prick.
Hold on. I'd like to retract. I'd like to retract my one just very, very quickly. I'd like to say that I would keep Nintendo fans because I love the fucking oceans of boiled piss every time, and it's great for my retweets and faves every time I wind them up. However,
Fucking hell, for the social power.
I would definitely get rid of people who use the word bias in a way which makes no sense.
Especially when they mean biased.
Yeah, when they mean biased or they mean your opinion, which is naturally going to be biased by various factors.
But also, genuinely, if I ever felt my brain go, Simon, I think you should side with Sony in this, I'd throw myself off a cliff. I find a cliff and kill myself.
Can you imagine? Just he puts his headphones down and just runs.
Yeah, I don't care. I don't care.
Shit, Miller's fucking going full pelt towards that window.
I hope they
think
all
he's
do
opened
well.
it,
I
yeah.
don't get makes no difference to me. Like
A
who gives a
fucking
shit?
massive crater on the Croydon High Street.
Yeah.
What happened?
Miller.
Miller had a bad thought.
You open the window, you see he's just landed doing push-ups again, like the outro.
Damn skinfin.
Harry Koo asks, is it possible to enjoy video games? No.
Yeah, we
Is it
just
possible?
discussed that.
Is it possible to enjoy video games whilst being worse than shite at every game?
Well, it must be because I'm terrible at them.
I'm awful at video
Yeah.
games. I'm fucking notoriously terrible at video games, and I love them. So yes, obviously it is. Yeah. Burns is shy at video games, although he never
Nah,
admits
he's
it.
pretty good.
Hey,
I
guys.
saw him playing Hotline Miami, mate. It was fucking terrible.
All I'm saying, guys, there's a bunch of trophies out there, and they ain't got your fucking name on them.
He's not lying. Have you ever lost a VG versus tournament
Nope.
match or anything? Have you not?
There you go.
That Nidhogg final
How many
was
of you
something to
won,
behold.
Miller?
Huh?
How many of you won?
Well, it depends. I've won mini ones.
Mini.
I got screwed in the Mario Kart one, which I should have won. We've
Oh,
done that
bollocks.
though. We
Who
did
won that
on the
one?
Screen ride. No, I don't think I've won any of them.
Did you win the Mario
bad.
Kart one?
Of course I won it.
Did he?
He won the Super Mario Kart one.
Oh,
You
I
won
weren't
Mario
there.
Kart.
I've won
you.
one fair and square.
What'd you win?
And I've won a second one.
I didn't know that. What did you win?
Under controversial circumstances. I won that Scream Ride
Oh,
one.
wait, I lost Mario.
Oh, of course you did, yeah. I was right there next to
Yeah,
you.
Scream Ride. Yeah.
The Trials Fusion one, I managed to beat Tom.
I felt like I got screwed over in that one as
only
well.
because we fucked it.
Yeah, I haven't won one yet.
There's a
But I'm not
fix.
good at games. Like Mario Kart 7, 3DS, unbeatable.
Well, you say that.
Yep,
The
you
one
beat me.
game that
We
we
haven't
can't.
played you.
Exactly.
The one
Yeah.
game that we can't capture for a video.
Yeah, I'm good at Mario Kart 7. That's what I'm saying. I'm very
Burying
good
the
at it.
evidence.
As soon as we're able to fucking emulate that, it's on.
Fine.
Right, I think that's it's about all we've got time for. If talking about subscription services that heavily feature Miller, if you're a member of the Video Gamer Community Club, you will now get an extra bit after the outro music.
I may
But
not be on it though.
You might not
I
be
think
on
someone's
it.
tagging in. I don't know
Is
yet. We've got to
someone
go figure
tagging?
it out. I think so. We've got to go figure it out.
Wow, okay, right, okay. But thanks very much for listening.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate
Cheers.
it.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.